Okay, so I'm going to present you now the conclusions from the previous workshop that we did on epitweetr in 2020. My name is Laura Espinosa, and I'm the project manager and one of the initiators of this project. So we just wanted to show you a bit. We had a similar workshop in June 2020. At that time, there were about 24 participants. And the objective was to present what was the preliminary version of epitweetr and to discuss improvement in 4 specific areas. We need to remember that at that time we had the prototype that was finalized. We were starting with the different automatizations to the different aspects of epitweetr, and we wanted to have these discussions with different experts in the field to see how it could be improved in this version. So the 4 areas that we focused were the data visualization, email alerts and signals, the geolocation and the Twitter authentication, and then as the last one, the pipeline for the signal detection. And what we did after, so we had different breakout groups, similar as we will have tomorrow, and participants were focusing on specific questions for each of these parts that I mentioned before. And at the end, the organizing team, so experts from ECDC and from EpiConcept, sat down and classified all these suggestions in 4 categories. And these are as follows. The first one to be included in the current version of epitweetr. The second one to be included, but after some discussions on how this could be done. The third one to possibly be considered for future developments of the tool. And then the last category that we didn't consider at that time, at that point in time, to be planned and to be incorporated in the near future. Here you have an overview of the different modifications. So as you can see, most of them, especially from the first category to be incorporated, were included. Some of them were not included at that point, which there was one suggestion about having a specific pop-up window for the different aspects of the tool in order to get support or additional help on how to use it, but that would have increased the performance needed, so the computational power needed to run it. Trying to do as much as we can in have a detailed user documentation, in have additional resources in the GitHub discussion. Every time that we see that there's some common questions, we try to add it there so that the next person that may be in the same situation will have the answer. There's also the issues in GitHub that even though they're closed, you can still look for them and possibly get an answer to a similar problem that someone else had. So in this case, say it has we had a high rate of incorporation from this one. For the second one, again, there were slightly less suggestions or modifications suggested. We incorporated almost a bit more than half of it. And actually for those that the thing here is that there were some of them that we didn't consider at that point to be included for near future. I will go into detail later, but we actually have included now. And some of the things, even though they are not included now, are kind of or will be covered with this new version that we are developing now. So this is just to show you that when we really do these workshops, try to gather information, they are really, really useful because at the end, the more brains we have to see how this can be better used in the public health community, the better options to make it useful for all of us. So just to give you some examples on the modifications that actually were included in epitweetr after this discussion. So in this first category, there was the suggestion of not including the keywords used in the top words, because of course, if you look for something, you would expect that those keywords will be on the top. In a sense, it will decrease the number of real top words that you are getting from those topics. Then also including the settings used for the signal detection in the alert email. There were some improvements and customizations of the visualization, like for example, the triangles of the alerts to have them really separated and not one on top of the other when you have different trend lines there. That was included as well. There was one suggestion there on the evaluation of geolocation, which we did with that current version in the evaluation that we have the preprint and hopefully published soon at some point this year. And we also have now with this new layer of supervised machine learning, you can see real time what is the performance of that additional layer. And then also in the signal detection, it was suggested to get not only the 7 or the previous days, but also the same weekday before. So for example, instead of, if we decide to have 7 days for the signal detection, instead of saying the 7 previous days Tuesdays, so the 7 previous Tuesdays. So that was also incorporated after that. A couple of samples as well, or 3 actually, on those that, there's a typo, should be incorporated with some discussion, was the near real-time alert and the signal detection, some specifications there. So the inclusion of the downweighting of previous signals. So it will, this will allow for small signals after big peaks to still be detected. And as I mentioned, the triangles in the dashboard. Examples on future considerations. There were a lot of discussions at that point on the supervised machine learning layers that could be added to the different algorithms that we have. We have added with this latest version, one for the signal categorization and another one for improved geolocation. There were also some suggestions on clustering, for example, the tweets or the users depending on their networks and their impact in the tweetosphere, which is something that will be discussed in breakout group 4 tomorrow as well. And then there were some of them that at that point we didn't consider to be included for the near future. We are talking about actually beginning of 2022, we end up including it, which is evaluation indicators. Not for everything, but we have them for these additional supervised machine learning models for signal categorization and improved geolocation. And we also included the URLs in the email alerts. There's also additional information on the most relevant tweets within a signal. That was also something mentioned to see all the tweets. We didn't include all of them, but there's still some additional improvements that we have included, as I mentioned, after these discussions in the workshop, after the evaluation and after the different feedback and usage of epitweetr, not only at ECDC, but in other institutions. So that was a short presentation. I don't know if there's any questions about this on what we have included, how we consider the feedback there. Trying to open now the chat just in case. If not, as always, feel free to either raise your hand, okay, thank you, or to just speak up. Maybe one thing to mention in this case, the situations that currently we would like, as I say, to take this feedback to see not only for epitweetr and possible future developments, but for anything that we may be developing in the future, because as you see, there's more and more use of artificial intelligence and maybe possibilities on investigating other social media platforms. So it's really useful to have this opportunity with such a variety of expertise that we can really get information. And as I said, it's a public tool. So at the end, it's not only for us, it's for anyone that can access it.